and gentlemen, welcome to the third Asian Sports Sustainability Webinar Series. I'm Dr. Huang from the National Tsinghua University in Taiwan, and I'm in charge of the Center for Sports Business and Policy. And also I have a teaching position at the Department of Kinesiology in my university. And I'm so honored to be the host for today's section. So first of all, I would like to take a moment to introduce the co-host for the webinar series. The first is Mr. Haruki Sawada, who is the Executive Director, Green Sport Life Japan. Haruki, you want to say hello to everybody?
It's okay. I'm Haruki here, and I'm together with Tokyo Adachi. So it's okay. Maybe I'm sorry for me to make a presentation like this, but very much nice speaking with you today. Thank you.
Okay. So the secondly, I want to introduce Dr. Gongding Ye, who is the professor at the National Taiwan Sports University. Doctor, you want to say hello to everybody?
Hi, everybody. Thanks for coming. So this is the third time we work with the Professor Huang as well as Mr. Haruki for this webinar. So next time will be ours. Our university will host this event. So really, I come here to learn how to handle this event. So very good. Hopefully, we have a good lesson today. Thank you.
Oh, thank you for the Dr. Ye's remark. So you can see that we have a team from Japan, also from Taiwan. So it's kind of a collective action among these organizations in the Asian regions. That's very important because last year I went to the Sport Positive Forum. I learned the word collective action. Am I right? So I bring the idea from the Sport Positive and come back to the Asian regions to communicate with the friends in Japan and my folks in Taiwan to have the Asian sports sustainability webinar. Also, as Dr. Ye mentioned, we had our first and the second webinar last February and April. So this is our third webinar. And then can we go to the next page? Let me go to introduce today's guest. Go to the first one. Yes, I will take a moment to introduce the three distinguished speakers who are from the Great Britain, Japan, and Taiwan, respectively. The first panelist is Ms. Claire Poole, who is the founder and the CEO of Sport Positive. Welcome. And she will talk about the climate adaptation in sport from a European perspective. And the second panelist is Mr. Kazuki Bando, who is working for the Sports Concierge. He's coordinator from the Tokyo Adachi City. And Mr. Bando will share the three legacies from the Tokyo Olympics 2020. The third speaker from Taiwan is Mr. Tsung-Cheng, who is the founder of Tianzhong Marathon, one of the 4 major marathons in Taiwan. And Mr. Chen is going to discuss the social return on investment of the Tianzhong Marathon. This, I will say, this is the very first running race in Taiwan that carry out such an ROI analysis. So I think any one of these panelists has a valuable first-hand experience that will benefit to all of the audience. Also, I would like to express my gratitude to our panelists for their efforts on behalf of our webinar host. And also, I want to say thank you for the audience for taking your time out of your busy schedule to join us today. And you can see we brought you some incredible lineup of speakers who are experts in these fields. I think they are going to share the knowledge, experience, and ideas and help us to understand the the issue of the accessibility. And I'm so confident that you will walk away with a valuable insight. And also you have very actionable takeaways. And also, can we go to the next page for our agenda? So after my open remark and my introduction, I will give the time to the Claire for her presentation. The second one is the Kazuki. The third one is Mr. Chen. So before we dive in, I would like to share a few quick housekeeping notes. The webinar probably will run for 1 hour. And if you have any question, feel free to drop them in the QA section or our chat box. We will address them as many as possible during the QA sections. And finally, don't forget to stay engaged. We would love to hear your thoughts and your feedback throughout the section. So now I will say it's very important to have our speakers to speak about their insight. So first, I would like to invite Claire. It's your prime times.
Thank you, Yuhang, and all of the organizers of the webinar. It's wonderful to be with you all today. I'm just going to do a bit of technology to share my screen with you all and get my slides up, which hopefully someone can indicate that you can see okay and that we can begin.
Perfect, no problem. Yeah, your technology good.
Amazing. Thank you, Yuhang. So my name's Claire Poole. I'm the founder and CEO of Sport Positive. Our organisation is based in the UK, here in London, but we work at a global level. We are super heartened. We were delighted to have Professor Huang come to Sport Positive last year and join our global community and see that the information is now being dispersed within Taiwan and in Asia, and that these local initiatives are now happening. So it's wonderful to see that work going on. For those who don't know me, I, as well as being the founder of Sport Positive, I sit on a number of advisory boards for UEFA, for the World Economic Forum Earth Decides. I contribute for Forbes, and essentially if people are talking about sport and environmental sustainability, I tend to appear at some point. So it's wonderful to be with you all. For those who are interested, the World Economic Forum Earth Decides group is a group of cultural, scientific and influential leaders who come together to look at the power of areas such as sport, entertainment, food, culture, arts, music, and how these important sectors can help drive climate action. As I mentioned, I'm an advisor to UEFA on their environmental steering committee, and I contribute for Forbes, writing about sustainability and innovation through the lens of sport. So if these things are of interest, do check that out. This is our summit, our annual summit that you may wish to find out more information about. We were delighted to have Yuhang join us last year and speak. Our meeting happens in person and online. So for those of you who can't travel to London, you can still join us and be part of that global effort as well. So these are the areas I want to speak to you about briefly today in the topic of climate adaptation in sports from a European perspective. In the next 10 minutes or so, these are the areas that we will focus on. We are seeing the impacts of the climate crisis now worsen. It is not something for the future anymore. We are seeing an increase in extreme weather events, and sports, like many other sectors, are massively influenced and impacted by this in very different ways. And then they need to adapt to these changes to ensure that sport still happens. And we talk a lot about adaptation in sports around these issues. And we note that from our perspective, we are driven entirely by purpose, but we also acknowledge that from a sport business perspective, we have to ensure that sport continues to happen from a financial and a social perspective, as well as an environmental perspective. And a lot of the impacts of the climate crisis not only are impacting sports' ability to happen or performances, but it is also already affecting the financial bottom line for sports organizations. So these are the adaptations that I want to talk to you about, and the risks and benefits of taking action in these areas. So first of all, scheduling changes. I know our colleague from Japan is going to speak next about Legacies from Tokyo 2020, which is wonderful. And we see a lot more action happening in Japan now, with the J-League leading on some great environmental sustainability work and many other organizations, which is incredible to see. So you might remember from Tokyo 2020 that the heat meant that the marathon that was due to take place had to move to the north to Sapporo and take place later in the evening. This is not just Japan who is dealing with this. We have seen this all over the world, and especially in Europe. You would expect in the Northern Hemisphere, where we are, that the extreme heat would not be an issue as much as it would in other regions, but this is not the case anymore. Many major sporting events are now impacted in one way or another by the impacts of the climate crisis, and sports organizers need to adapt. So what does that adaptation look like when it comes to scheduling? It looks like changing locations and times of events, not just the events, but you can see there from some of these screenshots, training schedules have to be adapted around heat waves, race timing and location sometimes needs to be shifted, and also maybe not by a direct impact of the climate crisis, but the wider issues of pollution and heat. We saw in Paris about the water quality in the Seine and the triathlon being delayed in some of those while those issues, those environmental issues took place. So adaptation looks like major sports having to change from a grassroots level to a professional level, when the sport takes place, how it takes place, and where it takes place as well. So these are adaptations that sports need to now think about. Off the back of that, we have to think about broadcast, fan experience, and also spectators and stewards or temporary staff that are involved with these events. So if a sporting event has to be rescheduled because of extreme heat or flooding or thunderstorms or typhoons, if that sport is being broadcast, then obviously the broadcast time needs to change because the sporting event time has changed. That can lead to impacts, obviously, in terms of availability of airtime for the broadcast. It can impact advertising. And if these things happen consistently over longer periods of time, eventually it could erode the value of your rights to broadcast your sport and the sales of your rights to broadcasters. So again, how we're seeing different areas adapt to this. So broadcasters, you can see that screenshot on the right. Broadcasters are moving to remote production more and more to reduce their own impact on the environment, and also to be more agile around these changes when it comes to sports shifting timing in their schedule. And then in terms of fans, especially, and those who are coming to watch sports, we see adaptations such as sporting events having to create more shaded areas, spend money on hoses or misters to cool down fans during heat waves. We see open air stadiums having to close their roofs to manage the heat. So again, all of these are constant thinking ahead and understanding where these impacts are happening and how these shifts need to be made. Also, we think a lot about athletes, who I'll talk about now in terms of adaptation, but we can't forget, especially our colleagues who will share about the marathons and our mass participation events, the amount of volunteers and stewards that help the success of those events. That cohort of people, to me, actually is more worrying than fans, because fans are coming, they stand on the side of a marathon and they enjoy and they support. If it gets too hot, they can leave, they go and get a drink, they find a shaded area. Stewards need to stay in certain areas because that's where their job is. So it might be standing at a certain part of the marathon sidelines, or a steward at a football stadium or a event stadium, standing in one particular position for long periods of time, no matter what happens with the weather. And they perhaps are more of a risk in terms of the impact of extreme heat, for example. And also sports organizations need to be adapting now, thinking about their insurance, where their coverage is for people who are employed by them to ensure these events happen. So lots of things to think about when it comes to adaptation. Athletes are front of mind. Athletes are the face and the voice of sports. They are the center of our industry. And as the climate crisis worsens, we see athlete health being more and more impacted in these ways. Just some screenshots of recent Forbes articles I've written around this. Paris 24, obviously we saw ice vests, fans, we see longer breaks for athletes, so we see more cooling breaks happening. This is an adaptation to extreme heat. Now in football, for example, in Europe, much more consistently, we see cooling breaks happening. And there's actually a push by athlete-supported organizations to extend those cooling breaks and to make them happen more frequently because of how much hydration it's physically able for athletes to take on during those times. So again, with athletes, we're seeing them being impacted in the Club World Cup in North America this year. Just last month, we saw, I think it was 8 matches in the end that was disrupted because of thunder and lightning storms. The athletes had to go inside. The stadium bowl had to be emptied to make sure there was no risk to life. However, the impact on athletes happening, working at an elite level in their sport, is that they lose momentum in the game. After warming up and playing or competing for a certain amount of time, they then have to stop for sometimes, in the case of the Club World Cup, 60 minutes to 1 hour. So they've cooled down mentally, they have shifted. It's difficult to keep competing at the same level. So again, the athlete impacts are huge. We also see lots of adaptations now of athletes doing training period in places that are more hot than where they perhaps live. So again, the training and the physiology and trying to encourage their body to perform at the highest level, no matter what the weather they're experiencing. We're seeing more and more adaptations around this. And of course, this takes more time and more money than athletes being able to train in their usual training place as they consider these. So lots and lots of adaptations happening around athletes. The last ones, just to mention before I finish and pass to our next esteemed speaker, is the event planning and hosting. So climate change impacting event planning and hosting. So I've mentioned a couple of examples of events, timing changing, the schedule, the location. However, we also are starting to see a trend now of fans, media, and society at large pushing back against major sporting events being hosted in countries that we know will experience unbearable temperatures when major sports are due to happen. This, in turn, means that countries and organizations will perhaps have to bid for sports in a slightly different way. As part of that bidding process, they will need to explain how they plan to manage the impact of extreme weather, how they will keep people safe, how they will ensure the event happens as planned at the same time, and understand that even with all of these adaptations in place, there will still be perhaps major climate events like flooding or typhoons that will mean the event will be cancelled or postponed. Again, the impact of that and the adaptation needed is a greater look at your insurance and due diligence of when and where your events are taking place, and ensuring that you are covered when it comes to the potential impacts and adaptations that you should be taking. Surface and field adaptations, I'll just mention very briefly. As we experience more and more hot weather, surfaces that are perhaps impacted, especially at a grassroots level with drought, become harder. This means then that as athletes train and perform, or even participants at a grassroots level, they are more susceptible to injury because of the hard ground and the hard grass that they compete on. So again, we will need to ensure that we start thinking about the adaptations needed around that, and that we are considering it. My last point on this before I finish is that the biggest adaptation we can think about holistically is cross-sector collaboration and efforts like this, how we are sharing, how we are connecting with partners, how we are listening to what other people are doing, and how we use this information to ensure that our sporting events are properly adapted to the climate, and how we can try and reduce the risks to participants, to athletes, to staff, to fans as far as possible, as we continue to try and support sports to thrive in a changing climate. So I'd be delighted to take any questions at the end, and thank you for allowing me the opportunity to share some of these insights.
Thank you. Your wonderful presentation. And Claire mentions, I will say, highlight like several aspects of climate adaptation. Also, you mentioned a volunteer. Wow, I never thought about it. Yeah, we care about the fans, the athletes, but volunteer, they come to even earlier, and they finish late. So, particularly for some mass, I would say mass participant events, we need a lot, huge number of volunteers. So their safety and their health is always important also. Thank you for reminding me that. So before we move to the second panelist, if you have any question you want to ask Claire, please leave your question in our chat box. We will have the Claire address that in our Q&A section. So the second speaker is Kazuki Bando from the Tokyo Adachi City. Welcome.
Hi everyone, my name is Kazuki Bando from Tokyo. That's my old English. I'm not good at speak English, so today I will speak in Japanese. お願いします。
Okay, and then Haruki Sawara is going to help him to make a kind of like a simple translation. Okay.
Good.
見えますかね?
So,
yeah, the slides looks very clear, so you can go ahead.
Okay.
では、東京で開催されたオリンピック・パラリンピック大会によって街にもたらされた3つのレガシーについてご紹介します。
We will introduce 3 key legacies that Tokyo 2020 have brought to our city.
まずはじめに、レガシーをもたらすきっかけとなったオランダとのゲームチェンジャープロジェクトをご紹介します。
First, let us introduce the Game Changer project with the Netherlands, which served as a catalyst for creating our legacy.
この取り組みは、オランダのパラアスリートやパラスポーツの専門家の方々が日本に来て、子どもたちや地域のスポーツ関係者と交流をするというものでした。
Through this initiative, Dutch para-athlete and the para-sports professional visited Japan to interact with the children and local sports stakeholders.
子どもたちは障害を乗り越えて夢をつかんだアスリートのお話を聞いたり、パラスポーツの体験を通じて夢を叶えるために努力することの大切さや障害者のことについて学びました。
Children listen to the inspiring stories of the athletes who overcame disability to achieve their dream and experience para-sports firsthand.
また、地域のスポーツ関係者には、障害があっても工夫次第で誰でもスポーツを楽しめるということや、実現が困難と思われるようなことも、まずは挑戦するということの重要性を伝えていただきました。
Through this, they learned the importance of the preservance and gained a deeper understanding of people with disabilities. Local sports officials also learned that with creativity, anyone can enjoy sports regardless of the ability, and that even seemingly difficult challenges are worth attempting.
ここでアスリートらから私たちや子どもたち、 地域の方に伝えられたメッセージは、現在の足立区のパラスポーツ推進の原点となっています。
The messages delivered by the athletes to our community, children, and ourselves have become the foundations of Adachi City's current policy of parasports.
彼らはまた、メッセージやマインドといったものだけではなくて、形として街に残るものをもたらしてくれました。
In addition to the powerful messages or mindset shift, it also left behind a tangible asset in our community.
私たちはこれらを東京オリンピック・パラリンピック、そしてオランダとの交流でもたらされた3つのレガシーと呼んでいるのですが、これからその3つの取り組みについてご紹介していきます。
We call these as the three legacies brought about by the Tokyo Olympics and Paralympic Games and our exchange with the Netherlands. From here, we would like to introduce these three legacy initiatives in more details.
まず1つ目のレガシーが足立スポーツコンシェルジュです。
The first legacy is the Adachi Sports Concierge.
障害のある方の運動スポーツ相談窓口として2020年に開設しました。
This service was launched in year 2020 as a consultation desk for people with disabilities who wish to engage in exercise and/or sports.
この取り組みはオランダで実践されている障害者のスポーツサポート窓口を参考に始まったものです。
The idea was inspired by the similar support system in the Netherlands that help individuals with disabilities access sports opportunities.
障害のある方からの、例えば車椅子バスケットボールをやりたいけど、どこでできますかといったご相談や、運動を始めたいけど、何をやったらいいかわからないといったご相談などに対して、スポーツやそれができる場所などをご紹介します。
For example, we receive questions like, I want to try wheelchair basketball. Where can I do that? Or I'd like to start exercising but don't know what kind of activity would suit me. Then we provide information on appropriate sports and places where they can participate.
また、紹介だけではなく、活動参加に向けた事前調整をしたり、体験に立ち会ったりといった形で、紹介後のフォローも行っています。
Beyond that, we also provide follow-up support, coordinating with facilities in advance, and even accompanying participants during their first experiences.
さらには、個人からの相談だけではなく、障害者施設や障害者団体から、施設や団体の行事でみんなでスポーツを楽しみたいが、どんなスポーツがあるか紹介してほしいといったご相談などにも対応しています。
In addition, we also respond to the requests from care facilities and organizations for people with disabilities. For example, they may ask, we want to enjoy sports together during our group event. Can you recommend some options? And then we assist in introducing suitable sports for these occasions as well.
2つ目のレガシーはスペシャルクライフコートです。
The second legacy is the special life court.
こちらは障害のある方や子どもたちを中心にどなたでもスポーツを楽しめるバリアフリーの多目的屋外コートです。
This is a barrier-free, multi-purpose outdoor court where children and people with disability can enjoy sports freely and safely.
オランダの伝説的サッカー選手であるヨハン・クライフさんという方が立ち上げた財団が子どもたちのために世界中に設置しているもので、特に障害のある方が安全にスポーツを楽しめるよう特に設計されたものについては、通常のクライフコートという名前の頭にスペシャルがついております。
The court was established with the support from the Johan Cruyff Foundation, founded by the legendary Dutch football player Johan Cruyff. The foundation installs courts for children around the world. Among them, the court specially designed for the safe use by individuals with disabilities are named Special Cruyff Court.
このスペシャルクライフコートについては、アジア圏で初めて足立区が財団の寄付を一部受けて設置された施設となりました。
This facility in Adachi City was the first special Cruyff court in Asia, built with partially supported by the Cruyff Foundation donations.
コート面積は600平方メートル。床材にはクッション性が高く安全なゴムチップ塗装を使用し、コートとその周囲に段差がなく、車椅子の方にも使いやすい設計となっております。
The court is 600 square meters uses a cushion rubber surface for safety and has a step-free design that's friendly for wheelchair users. We also planted 14 trees around the court to provide a pleasant environment.
クライさんはサッカー選手ですけれども、サッカー以外の競技もここでは楽しめます。
While Clive was a football player, this court is not limited to football. People can enjoy various sports here.
普段はどなたでも予約なし、無料で使うことができますが、障害者の団体やパラスポーツの団体は貸し切りでコートを使うことができます。
It's generally open to everyone, free of charge and without reservations. In addition, a group of the people with disability and para-sports organization can book the court for inclusive use. And we also provide sports equipment like boat.
さらにコートではボッチャやスポーツ車椅子といった用具の貸し出しも無料です。
In addition, we also provide sports equipment like boccia gear and sports wheelchairs as no cost.
コートを貸し出す以外に定期的にパラスポーツの教室、体験会も実施しています。
Beyond just providing the space, we also host regular para-sports classes and trial sessions.
障害者向けに実施している教室では、日本のプロサッカークラブと連携し、重い障害の方でもスポーツを楽しめるよう工夫をしながら、年間40回以上の教室を開催しています。
In particular, for classes designed for people with disabilities, we collaborate with a J-League professional football club in Japan and organize over 40 sessions a year, 40, incorporating special adaptation to ensure that even those with severe disability can enjoy sports.
日常的に実施している教室以外にも、年1回、足立区のパラスポーツの一大イベントとして、スペシャルクライフコートフェスティバルという体験型のイベントも実施しています。
In addition to our regular classes, we also hold an annual event called the Special Clive Court Festival, which has become a major para-sports event in Adachi City.
このイベントでは、パラスポーツの体験だけでなく、地域の障害者団体によるダンスなどの活動発表や、障害者施設の物産展なども実施し、障害のある方を中心に参加者全員がスポーツを通じて交流できるイベントとして実施しています。
This festival not only allows participants to try out various para-sports, but also features a performance by local disability care organizations, such as dance shows, and product exhibitions from the local welfare facilities. The event is designed so that all the participants, especially those with disability, can connect through sports.
このようにクライフコートは足立区のパラスポーツ推進の拠点となっています。
Through this kind of activity, as you can see, the Clive Court has become a central hub for promoting para-sports in Adachi City.
3つ目のレガシーがパラスポーツ推進のための地域との共同体制です。
Now, the third legacy is a collaborative system between the local community and the government for advancing para-sports.
行政と地域のスポーツ関係者や障害福祉関係者の方たちとともに、共生社会の実現に向けたパラスポーツの推進を考える場として実施しています。
We have created a platform where government officials, local sport professionals, and the local people involved in the disability welfare can come together to discuss and promote para-sports in the context of building an inclusive society.
2024年にはコアメンバーによる足立区パラスポーツ推進協議会という会議体を設置しました。
In 2024, we officially launched the Adachi Para-Sports Promotion Council, composed of core members from different sectors.
現在、この協議会では、今後の足立区におけるパラスポーツの推進のアクションプランを策定しており、アクションプラン完成後は、プランをもとに地域の関係者と各取り組みを実践していく予定です。
The Council is now actively working to organize and structure para-sports activities and to develop a practical action plan in collaboration with the community.
協議会の中では現在、パラスポーツの取り組みを体系化し、地域とともに実践するためのアクションプランを策定するため、検討を進めています。
We are now working on making up the action plan inside the community.
以上の通り、東京2020大会をきっかけにオランダとの交流が始まり、そのレガシーとして、足立スポーツコンシェルジュ、スペシャルクライフコート、 パラスポーツ推進協議会の3つが生まれましたが、現在も取り組みを進めていく中で、日々いろいろな課題に直面しています。
As we have presented, Tokyo 2020 served as a starting point for our exchange with the Netherlands, which led to the creation of three key legacies: the Adachi Sports Concierge, the Special Cry Code, and the Para Sports Promotion Council. While we continue these initiatives, we are also constantly encountering new challenges.
これらの課題の解決に向けて、足立区では今ご紹介した3つのレガシーをさらに広げ、さまざまな新規事業に取り組んでいます。
In response, Adachi City is working to expand these three legacies and launch new projects to address emerging needs.
例えば、区内の小学校では、パラスポーツの体験授業を実施し、障害のある方がプレーするために、パラスポーツにどのような用具やルールの工夫がされているかを学ぶことで、障害者に対する理解を深める取り組みを3年前から始めています。
One such example is our para sports experience classes held at the local elementary school. These classes, launched 3 years ago, allow students to learn about special equipment and modified rules used in para sports, deepening their understanding and empathy toward people with disabilities.
足立区ではこれからもパラスポーツの推進と共生社会の実現に向け、さまざまな取り組みにチャレンジし、実践してまいります。
Going forward, Adachi City is committed to further promoting para sports and realizing an inclusive society by taking on new challenges and putting ideas into actions.
お時間の関係であまり多くはご紹介できませんでしたが、私たちの取り組みにご興味がありましたら、オランダとの交流をまとめた映像番組もありますので、ぜひそちらも一度ご覧ください。
Due to the time constraint, we are unable to introduce all of our efforts today. However, if you are interested, we also have a short video documentary summarizing our exchange with the Netherlands. We encourage you to watch it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So thank you for the lecture. It's very, informative and very educational as well. In the one of legacy you call the spatial craft court. That's very important. In Taiwan, we have a similar, I would say, the venue for the disabled communities. But we probably in Taiwan, Japan, but we probably run the different model. But anyway, we probably can exchange idea later on. So let's move to the third speaker, Mr. Chen, who is the founder of the Tianzhong Marathon. So Mr. Chen, it's your prime time.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Huang. Let me show my report.
Good. Very clear.
That's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. We will talk about the social impact assessment of the Tianzhong Marathon and a series of the activity. I am the general manager of the Tianzhong Marathon in Taiwan, and I found middle Taiwan, so in Zhanghua. And we will introduction about this race, and it was first time held at 2012, and it was the most popular friendly marathon event in Taiwan. So about the 2018, there were about over 1,000 overseas runners come to our race. It became a well-known event in the Asia Pacific regions. So our government, Zhanghua County, take the Tianzhong Marathon as the main exit the Plain County's marathon most activity for the other have the other 4 and 5, 6 marathon in our county. Then we was reviewed approved by Sport Administration of the government as one of the 4 largest in Taiwan international brand marathon event. So we passed the ISO certificate and obtain the carbon label of Taiwan Environmental Protection Administration. It was the first official protection administration. Then in 2024, organizing community and H2U sport note company led the implement the UK's Social View International Countries and SRI assessment, and the results show that for every $1 invested the event, it created a social view of up to $4.275. Covering the cumulative aspects such as runner health promotions and local economic development, the community cohesion and culture enhanced. So we will talk about the race, the take a role running to promote local development as the starting point. And we by the runner training camps are held and vigorous serious activity range in combined with surrounding township alteration and local business. Combine sport without tourism and enjoy the special artifice and fun of the town. We try to make a sport and local health town is our target. So our motivations, we find the unique position attract attention, even size impact the town, and before impact another 24. The marathon has held for many years, about 14 years, but there is still a lack of systemic assignment the sporting data in specific impact in stakeholder. So we try to find it. And the research budget, we try to graphic the influence of the event and sport operation decision making and improving invalidity well-being. So the research scope, it was taking the 2022 Tianzhong Marathon the scope. The initial period from the August 1, 2022 to next year, August 1. The export the impact the event and key stakeholder is meant the runners, sponsors, government, and local residents. Evaluate the social view generated by every $1 event. And it's including the serial activity and is including the junior health marathon training camp and for the pretty run training camp is mean about 10 kilometer grab per ticket and it's about 26 participants. And the Rice Baby Fun Run is about 800 people, and the main Tianzhong Marathon is about 16,000 people. And a night runner is about 4,000 people. It is our research scope. And by the SRI analytical, the guide to the social return and investment is based the 8th principle of the SVI International Standard. It's talk about the involved stakeholder and understand when what change and really the thing that matter and only including like what's the material and don't overclimb and be transferred and ready the result and be responsive. It's the main research must. So by the sixth stage, it's about the background investigation and stakeholder identification and argument identification and measure of outcome and SRO calculations and verification and reporting. Is the main sixth stage. So the question of the stakeholder is about have the 14 stakeholder, and we can stakeholder analysis about the runners, government units, organizers, and the sponsor and boarding team and the local community. So we can find there's a many stakeholders. Then we will try to find the main stakeholder, the potentials. And sometimes we will excuse the reasons for not being included in the groups. It's about the repeat inclusions and not directed participating in the event. And different participants and don't exceed the principle and maturity principles and indirect impact. So take the training camp runner and example to the illustrations to the calculation of the video of the result. We try to find the training camp runners to see the defined outcomes and outcome pricing and video of result. For the mission result, we can find the runners and the physical fitness and increase self-confidence and improve the mood and increase sense of belonging and the other developing regular exercise habits. So by the main event change to the defining outcome, we can see for the process as the research result. So we can find the SRO calculation results for every $1 invest. It creates 4.27 NT$ of social value. So the impact factor and final proceeds favorable in this initial report are calculated use the weighting average modes. Then in order to regrowth and approach the SRO interval, the influence factor are adjusted according to the principle of no exchange. So we can see the propagation of outcome value by stakeholder. The main runner is about 41%, then the sponsor is about 28%. So you can see the local economy will increase about 15%. So you can see the propagation of outcome. So we can see the analysis of a view of a result. For the experience is the riches, is the runners. It's about can find 41% getting the confidence, fun, and the interpersonal improvement and exercise habit. And most of them we want to continue to participate. And second is the family relationship have improved the significantly. Then three is the self-confidence, challenging noise. And the fourth is the training camp has signed for the benefit. And then the sponsor get the diversity and the local industries growing similar. The hotel and the catering industry have achieved remarkable results, and local rice factors and soap mills have also become a key driver of the local economy. And community coaches and inheritance challenge. So we can find in and discount the positive befriend is health promotion and economic both and community cohesion. But the negative befriend is the traffic congress and garbage pressure is our try to do better and better. So the energies of the value of results and the sponsor get the diversity and the local industries grow seamlessly and the community cohesion and inheritance challenge. So we can conclude and jubilation as the base for the operation design making, and second, change the feedback, the transparent discourse, and explain the participants and community concerns, and establish data missions and spread the befit. Find the focus on the continuous updates of the in the indicator. So the last we suggest for improve the interest long-term impacting tracking. And second, the government mentions that intense negative effects like a Western management plans. And three is compare and energize the other major events to help us. And four, provide a 24 policy recommendations. So we can find a marathon for the interest, residence, pride, and peer community well-being, volunteer plus and young people, and interest community cohesion. The four is like a circle. We will try to make it better for the futures. And thank you for your listening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chen. And Tianzhong Marathon is kind of leading marathon in Taiwan from all aspects. As I mentioned in the opening remark, Tianzhong Marathon is the first marathon in Taiwan that conducts the SROI analysis. It's kind of a new methodology to understand the impact of the running event from the holistic aspects. So it's a new method for me also. I'm learning about the new method. It's amazing. Mr. Chen, thank you for your contribution. So now we are on time. Also, we have some questions from our audience. So we have one for the Claire and also one from the Kazuki. Mr. Chen, I think original from China, but now study in New Zealand. He had one question about the football clubs. I think Mr. Chen probably the biggest football fan. His question is that some of the football clubs in England try to incorporate the climate adaptation into their brand image and the actions. So do Claire think this approach is effectively raise the fan awareness of the climate change? How do you think?
Yes, this is a great question, Zhang. Thank you for posing it. We've seen a number of campaigns like this in Europe, led by WWF, the NGO, where they take nature out of the football. So if a club's crest, as you mentioned, has a boat on it, or a eagle, or, you know, different nature, either flora or fauna, what that looks like differently with climate change. I think this is a really interesting and effective way of raising fans' awareness. I think fans care so passionately about football and their clubs that this is a helpful way, alongside many other ways, where we can just continue to raise awareness with fans in a way that doesn't feel too much like we are taking them away from the game, or we are preaching to them, or we are, you know, educating them too formally, let's say, because most people go to sport to escape from life and to focus on the joy of their games. So we have to be very careful that we don't make fans feel too despondent, or we don't make it feel too difficult. So these are great and interesting ways and visual ways that we can tell our message. So yes, I'll put a link in the chat to share about other organizations that have done this too, so people can learn a bit more. I think it's very cool.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for your information. I think a lot of professional sports clubs in different leagues, the football clubs in England, baseball in United States, and baseball team in Taiwan also do the same thing. A lot of campaign to raise awareness of the fans, to understand the significance of the extreme weather and how the fan can react. It's educational campaign. That's very important. So, and also we have the second question for the Kazuki. So, can Haruki help me a little bit to translate and?
That's okay. I think he understood the question. So please
Okay,
go ahead.
good. Yeah.
So are you going to say something about the questions?
Okay.
Or?
So, but basically, the question is that we understand that some of the elements are very important to the success for your initiatives, such as venue and personnel and the financial resources and the sports program. So would Kazuki elaborate on which issue would be most challenging from your aspects? Also, what advice would you provide for some cities or communities that may want to adopt your ideas?
はい、1つ目の質問ですね。はい。やっぱり一番難しかったのは、今まで、他の自治体も全然やっているものでなくて、どういう取り組みをやっていけばいいのか全くわからなかった。他の自治体の前例とかも教科書みたいなものがないっていうところが一番難しかったです。
The biggest difficulty for Adachi City is it's first time, and then in Japan there are no other municipality working on this international project with the Netherlands or maybe even with other countries. So there was no textbook how to proceed. That was the most challenging part.
Oh, okay.
2番目の、質問に対する答えなんですけれども、他の自治体にまず伝えるんだとすれば、この障害者スポーツ、パラスポーツの専門のセクションを置くべきだと思います。
And as for the advice for the other municipalities, basically, if the specific municipality would like to set up priorities, I mean, like if they are going to regard para sports as key material topics in their cities or towns or prefecture, whatever, suggestion is they should set up a dedicated team and dedicated human resources, because when we talk about the sports policy in a local community, there's always like a lot of targets, like children's, adult, or maybe professional level, educational level. And then for this para sports, municipality needs to set the scope specifically to the people with disabilities. So we need the specific people and teams.
Okay, thank you. You know, I think after we have the presentation from all of you. It's very important because the Tianzhong Marathon is the first one in Taiwan that carry out, I would say, the SROI. And Adachi City's case Also, the first one in Japan. So, I mean, it's unbelievable. That's very, I would say, amazing for our webinar. So we are so lucky to have you to come to our webinar to share experience. Also, I think the layer send some information. We will send a link in our YT. So for those viewers can follow the link and explore more information. Yeah, also to the host, my job is to make sure the webinar finish on time. So now it's about 4 o'clock. And I would say thank you for the panelists. Thank you for your contribution. Also, thank you for the audience. Spend your time for the 1 hour. And thank you for my teams. And we are looking for the next webinar sometime for the probably not November. And good day for everybody. Bye-bye.